We're in my office here. This is going to be a quick reaction to Scotty Kilmer's Why Not to Buy a 7th Gen video. I'm going to keep it pretty short, sweet, and to the point. The 7th Gen Celica, mostly I think the 2ZZ specifically gets a bad rep because it gets driven hard and it can blow up if it gets abused. It can't take a lot of rigorous abuse, and now that it's, getting to be a little bit cheaper platform, it's getting picked up by people that maybe aren't taking as good care of it, and now it's, going through engines. Scotty says, oh, well, every one of these I see is on its second or third engine. Well, Scotty, you probably only see people with engine problems because you're a mechanic. Nobody stops by with their perfectly good running car to tell you, hey, dude, by the way, I have one of these and it's running great. So yeah, no wonder you're probably seeing cars on their second or third engines. They've probably been through a couple other mechanics too. They're probably on their second or third mechanic after having blown a couple of engines. So, I don't think it's a fair assessment of the 7th Gen on his part, and not to mention, the 7AFE in his 6th Gen is just as prone to burn oil as the 1ZZ is, and so throwing more oil at a car is just as costly as premium gas that you have to put in the 2ZZ to keep it running due to the higher compression in it. And frankly, it's just a very low-powered engine. I'm sure that Scotty is not banging the rev limiter everywhere he goes in his 6th Gen with 105, 110 horsepower, whatever it's equipped at. And 2ZZs are. I regularly bang the rev limiter on my car. I'm regularly revving it up well past what his rev limiter probably stops at 7,000, maybe 8. My rev limiter doesn't kick until after 8,000. His whole tack has been burned up by that point. So it's not a fair assessment. Yeah, he's got 200,000 miles out of his engine. I know plenty of people. I have plenty of people comment and say, yeah, I've got a 2ZZ with, 200 plus thousand miles. They've got more than what Scotty's got on them, and they're on their original engines too, and theirs aren't burning oil. So there are a few flaws. The 2ZZ is more expensive to modify, and it's not nearly as cheap of a platform overall. There's not as many parts out for it, and it's relatively unknown, but I feel like the 7th Gen Celica is in a resurgence right now. It's seeing a renaissance. People are starting to come back to it, starting to appreciate the platform more. There are parts coming out for it, and, I feel like, I know that there are people out there that are sitting on parts that if they simply had enough interest from the community, they would be releasing them, but they can't get enough people from the community to be willing to pay up a decent amount of money to, be the first person to have one of these parts. That's kind of the cool thing about this is, sometimes platforms, once they're almost 20 years old, there's not new parts being developed for them, right now. And, you're mostly buying used parts and doing, seeing rebuilds that people have done hundreds of times. And you could be buying something new. In fact, I plan on buying the 7 Motorsports ITB kit for the 2ZZ because I don't see anybody else with it. It's different, it's brand new. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive than some of the other builds, and it might not yield as much horsepower, although it should. I'm really hoping that, you know, it'll just be different and interesting and cool. That's what I would like to do with this car, is I just want to be a little bit different, and I really just genuinely enjoy the platform. This isn't a platform for everybody. I don't think that everyone should be into the 7th gen Celica, because it's a platform of love. It's a labor of love. When you buy this car, parts are more expensive, the community is smaller, the aftermarket community is smaller, there are just less things available, and when you find them, you know, they're usually swooped up really fast, so if you don't have money available right now, it's gone. So, you know, it's not a platform for everybody. If you want cheap, easy parts to, you know, throw at a car and make it go faster, buy a Honda. That's what Hondas are there for. Parts are cheap because they get stolen all the time, too. You need to be able to afford to rebuild another one, but people aren't out stealing Celica GTSs because nobody cares, you know. And the community is so small that if they stole one, then it would be found immediately. But the Honda community is miles and miles long, so hot parts can get lost quickly. But, you know, at the end of the day, Scotty has some valid points. There are some mechanical, you know, shortcomings to the engine. You know, are they mostly fixable? Yeah. The oil pan issue, you know, buy a Moriso oil pan. I know it's $500 or $600, and that's a little rough. But, you know, if that's what you need to do to remove the Achilles heel of your engine, I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as really all that expensive to, you know, fix a problem with the engine. You know, it's not like the 2ZZ's oil rings and pistons. It's not like the oil ring or the piston rings in the 7AFE in the 6th gen. You know, swapping an oil pan is a lot easier. You don't have to open up your engine for that. So $500 and you can do that as a novice mechanic versus whatever it costs to do those other repairs on those two engines. It seems like a no-brainer to me. And the 2ZZ drives wonderfully, the Celica drives wonderfully. I just don't think it's for everybody, but I don't think that it's really that bad of an engine if you really love what it's about.